Greetings from Fiji, everyone. I'm Dr. Jashwini Narayan, and I work at the University of the South Pacific as a senior lecturer. My topic of presentation today is students' preference on the type of textbooks in higher education. The aim of my study was to examine and better understand tertiary students' preference between print and or electronic textbooks. My study is guided by 4 research questions, which are: 1. Which factors influence students' preference on the type of textbooks? Which factors influence their attitude towards ebooks? And which type of textbooks they prefer? And the final research question was, which type of textbooks the students of different age brackets prefer. I did both secondary data review and primary data collection at the same university I work for, in the largest campus of Lodara campus here in Fiji. In terms of contributions, not many peer-reviewed research has been carried out on students' preference of textbooks in higher education, and the ones that have been done, very few of them investigate students' preference on the textbook type. There is a call for more research on different student populations in different countries, in different types of institutions, and learning environments also. In the prior studies, there has been conflicting evidence regarding undergraduate students' acceptance or adoption of ebooks. This study advances research work in this particular area in terms of higher education students' adoption of ebooks, and it additionally includes factors which were largely included in previous research too. Factors such as different age groups, attitudes, and known users of ebooks in a specific discipline. The following factors were drawn from prior studies, and I feel that these factors may influence student preference of ebook adoption. Physical handling is one such factor. Reading text on screen can be much more difficult than reading the printed material, thus decreasing recall ability and student performance. Eye strain is the second factor. Students may dislike on-screen reading, again given eye strain and mental fatigue. Third factor is better understanding. Students may prefer to read print books that introduce a new or complex material, and this is for deeper learning and understanding. Fourth factor is unavailability of needed devices. Poor use of ebooks can be attributed to accessibility, functionality issues, lack of knowledge, and inaccessible titles of books too. Price can be another factor. Costly textbooks can increase the overall cost of education, thus affecting student preference. Portability can also be a factor. Students may opt for ebooks because of lesser discomfort of carrying heavy print books. Habit is the next factor. Students may engage more with print books than e-texts, especially for longer term reading, and that is because they are used to it. Distraction is another factor. An increase in student multitasking while reading ebooks at home, such as also chatting at the same time or listening to music, may fail to develop and improve on their reading skills. These factors are drawn also from prior studies, and these are the factors I feel may influence student attitudes towards ebook adoption. The first of such factor is ease of use and reading. Students may opt for an ebook because it is faster and easier to use. Desirability is the second factor. Students may be or may not be familiar and comfortable with ebooks. Ebook features can also impact learning. Storage is the third factor. Students may opt for ebooks because of convenient accessibility. Easy search options is the next factor. Ability to search is one of the most positive aspects of ebooks because it is way easier. Cheaper ebooks is another factor. Given pricey print books, students may seek cheaper ebooks or textbook rental programs. Students may like the option of e-access given convenience and lower cost. The next factor is easy note-taking. Students may use ebooks for skimming and short segments of reading, and are more likely to use printed sources for materials when these are more relevant or useful for class. I used a quantitative approach of survey method and created a 5-point Likert scale questionnaire. My target participants were the University of South Pacific Management course students, the second and third year students. I collected 301 responses, of which there were no invalid responses. I used SPSS for descriptive analysis, and the Likert scale data was analyzed in terms of interval data, where the mean becomes the measure of central tendency. Range was calculated as the highest point of scale being 5, less the lowest point of scale being 1. Interval value was then calculated by dividing the range, which was 4 divided by 5. Mean value was then checked against these intervals to report overall responses of students in each question. The 5 points are described as strongly agree being between 4.21 to 5, agree between 3.41 to 4.2, neutral between 2.61 to 3.4, disagree between 1.81 to 2.6, and strongly agree between 1 to 1.8. For the results, 48.2% were males, 51.8% were females, 60.5% were full-timers, and 39.2% were part-time students. 1% were younger than 20 years, 67.1% between 21 to 30 years, 25.5% between 31 to 40 years, and the remaining lesser 5% represented age groups of older than 51. As per research question 1, many reported being neutral to agreeing on preferring to hold books. They also agreed that print books are better for eyes. They understand better when they read print books. Print books are more portable and easier to read, and e-books are distracting. Majority were neutral on their habit of using print books. Results on impact on eyes, better understanding of subject matter when using print books, distracted when reading e-books are similar to prior findings. This study unusually reported that students do find print books more portable and easier to read. This may be because in this university they store books in their lockers and may not even own textbooks. Instead, they may use books in the library or use the materials that are readily made available by the educators. Most participants also disagreed that they do not have technology to use ebooks and that print books are more cost effective. This finding does not concur with prior studies on the unavailability of devices affecting the use of ebooks. This may be because students in this university do have the required technology or easy access to these from the university computer labs. However, they find print books more expensive and may opt to rent books which are less expensive and even buy second-hand less expensive ones or rely on the notes given by the teaching staff. For research question 2, most agreed that ebooks are easier to store and search and more reasonably priced. For research question 2, most agreed that ebooks are easier to store and search and more reasonably priced. Findings agree with past studies here. Most participants were neutral on ebooks being easier to use and read, easier to take notes from, and being more desirable than print books. Unlike a past study, this study did not find the easier factor that significant in terms of use and readability of ebooks. Maybe because of eye strain caused when reading from PC screens or from the smaller screens of mobile phones. Students may be more used to print books or may not even read textbooks when whether electronic or printed, and may rely more on online notes, lecture, or tutorial notes. Some students may also only read textbooks available at the library when assessments fall due or during examinations. For research question 3, results indicate that most students, in particular 67%, prefer print books. This may be because they are able to learn more when reading print books when compared to reading ebooks. This in turn may be because reading text on screen is much more difficult and not that comfortable when reading on paper. Results here concur with prior studies on the preference of printed textbooks. For research question 4, results indicate that the 21 to 30 year age group is much more ready in adopting ebooks, maybe because they are the e-generation and thus more tech savvy when compared to the other age groups. However, while this is so, they still do prefer print books more than the ebooks. The other noticeable age group is the 31 to 40 year age group. Comparatively, their adoption rate of ebook is much more lower, and they largely still prefer print books. This may be because they can afford print books and, being more matured, are not as comfortable with ebooks when compared to the younger students. An earlier study also found older students not using online tools as much as the younger ones. Overall, for all age groups, print book is still preferred. Moreover, for the older age group above 31 years, and in particular for those who are older than the 51-year age group. Responses also suggest that while aging students above 40 years, fewer opt for ebooks, which implies that age can be a factor in ebook adoption. All in all, this present research concurs with prior findings in that findings suggest a preference of print books over ebooks. There were some limitations in this study, but these guide future recommendations. Since this study is only about one university and one country's campus in a smaller South Pacific developing country, Fiji, it should not be taken to exemplify the entire e-textbook adoption scenario of higher education elsewhere. Comparison between students of different disciplines was beyond the scope of this study. The sample is also skewed towards the 21 to 30-year-olds. This may have influenced the results. As such, generalizations should be drawn with caution. Nonetheless, it is envisaged that this study will inspire scholars to further scrutinize the subject matter with larger scale studies using a balanced sample in terms of age brackets in other university-specific schools, or even comparative studies in different schools, faculties within a university. The study is further limited in its simple descriptive analysis of SPSS. Future researchers can employ more advanced analytical models such as structural equation models or other analytical tools for larger scale studies to validate the findings of the study. In addition, the study focused on one discipline only. As such, future researchers can look into other disciplines or even do a comparison between disciplines. Moreover, this study employed quantitative data collection and analysis methods only. Use of mixed methods like including qualitative is suggested for deeper insights. The present study investigated certain variables only, not based on any particular theory. Thus, future studies can also aid combined variables and use relevant theories for an appropriate model. Despite above limitations, education scholars, universities, relevant government, scholarship agencies can benefit from the findings, suggestions, and proposed future research areas of this study. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I thank you all for listening. Do enjoy the remaining of the conference. Thank you, everyone.